Hey, it's Juck.
Yeah! Yeah! Go Dogs! Yeah!
Let's get it.
And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback.
The truth is, Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those.
You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country.
And good morning. Welcome into Juck on Bucks. We're just doing a quick one today because I wanted to recap what happened over the weekend. So, for starters, what you just saw there was Georgia, obviously. That was Kirby Smart, and that was a top wide receiver recruit, and they were doing a little red carpet walk. This is the time of year, official visit season, when the creative teams at all the top universities have a budget and they are to just kind of do their best to do the most creative, coolest thing. That one is not, despite what you and I may think. I thought it looked pretty cool upon first seeing it. It's getting absolutely cooked as super cringy. And, it doesn't matter what we think. What matters is what they think. Not going over well with the younger set. Being absolutely lambasted. So what the Buckeyes did, however, is coming across very cool. They do this awesome set here. And this set is basically my attic in 1985, 87, with the paneling there. I mean, it looks fantastic. It looks so good that I'm just thinking like, man, I might want to do a little part of my room down here like that. I mean, that just looks so cool, comfortable, clean. I love it. I really love it. They killed it with that. They also killed it with this other kind of retro newspaper timey room here, where all the guys came in and took their picture in this room holding up, DBs or wide receiver headlines from the old newspapers. They also had a bunch of old magazines. I think I own several copies of these magazines that they're holding up. I was going to dig them out for the show because I thought it'd be funny to see if I still got them. But my old magazines are all buried behind the Christmas tree, and Nina's stuff is very heavy and cumbersome. So I did not want to pull it all out. But a big weekend nonetheless. I mean, just absolutely fantastic. The Buckeyes really went all out. So many of these guys seemed to have a great time. And I went through everything we could possibly read, both nationally, locally. I talked to everybody I could. I dug in on the rumor mill. I went everything. And here's what I got from this weekend. We got some real movement on a couple of guys. I mean, some real movement on a couple of guys. There's a couple things that came out of this weekend that have got me taking some guys from the likely category, which is my yellow on my big board, to the red, which is lock. Now, again, take it for whatever it's worth. But when I'm making my predictions and things like this, I take all the information from various different sources, put it all together, and decide whether or not I'm ready to, say, all right, this guy's now in the class for me moving forward for my projections when I'm looking at the class. I love recruiting because it's like a giant puzzle you got to put together, but the pieces, you can't move them. You have to talk them into moving where you want them to go. And even when they get there, they don't stay there until the very last day. It's just wild. There's so many different strategies. You look at Fry's small net strategy this year, that he tried to cast a small net, develop stronger relationships, half the offers of the competition. And then that didn't go well the first go around. So he had to pivot. Flurry of offers go out. And it looks like through that flurry of offers, there's some real traction on this late second part. And that's great. You got a guy like Hartline who essentially moves the needle in wide receiver recruiting. So many wide receivers haven't committed. And there's a theory nationally by some of the top guys that so many of these wide receivers are waiting, the top ones, to see who goes to Ohio State. And then the dominoes will fall in place after that. You got Tim Walton, who somehow did what he did this year, which is just bizarre, getting the top two cornerbacks in the class to commit early and lock in. Just wild. Then you always got the local Ohio guys that are kind of like the fringe guys that you don't want to offer right away because they'll accept the offer immediately. And when they do that, then you can't go after your number one guy because you're over your number. So you try to string them along, but you can't wait too long, because if you wait too long, then you got a Jordan Marshall situation where Michigan comes and swoops in and you can't pull him back when you need him. It's just there's so many different ways that you can win or lose in recruiting, and it's just wild. And then you add on to that now NIL, and it's just like, I don't know how these guys do it, man. And so much of their job performance is based on getting this done. It's got to be incredibly stressful. We just get to sit back and look and analyze. And thankfully, we're looking and analyzing a fantastic bunch of recruiters because they're just killing it. They're killing it, and they killed it this weekend. Absolutely killed it. All right, so who was in attendance for the big weekend? Let's review one more time. Here is all the people that were on their official visits this weekend. We had number 1 wide receiver in the country, DeSean Moore. Linebacker out of Texas, Riley Pettijohn. Wide receiver out of Florida, Vernell Brown III. Linebacker commit out of Florida, TJ Alford. Linebacker out of Cincinnati, Justin Hill. Running back out of Cleveland, Bo Jackson. Wide receiver I love out of Texas, Dalen McCutcheon. Safety out of New Jersey, DeSean Stewart. And the 2 linemen, Henry Fanuku out of Fort Worth, Texas. Caden Strayhorn out of IMG. So you had the 2 commits who were on official visits, and TJ Alford and DeSean Stewart. You also had, that I know of, 3 other commits come into town who just wanted to assist in recruiting. And that was quarterback Tavien St. Clair, Devin Sanchez and his parents, and Eli Lee, linebacker out of Akron, who's been down there like the last 8 weekends. The dude just basically lives there on the weekend now. So kudos to all of them. Nothing recruits better than players coming in and assisting in the process, and then well-respected parents who know what they're talking about coming in and saying, listen, this is why we're comfortable with this place. Here's why you should be too. So kudos to all of them. Being recruited by coaches is effective, but nothing is quite as effective as people who are in your same situation who chose this place for a reason, letting you know, making you feel comfortable. That's great. It's invaluable. And the whole team's coming together. What a special class this is shaping up to be. But let's start with DeSean Moore. So DeSean Moore, number 1 wide receiver in the country. DeSean Moore was committed to LSU, no longer committed to LSU, but he still will be taking an official to LSU. That's a new development. He was just taking officials to Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas. It is thought by the Texas folks that Texas is big time in the lead, Oregon a bit of a second, and Ohio State not really in it. The Oregon folks think it's Oregon and Texas kind of even Steven. Ohio State trails way behind. So DeSean Moore had his visit at Ohio State. The overall sentiment is, and we knew that his mom, back when he took his earlier visits, was very enthralled to come up and see, she said, quote, what he loves so much about Ohio State. So him and mom had been up before. This time they come up and mom just raves again, says they're going to be tough to beat. They set the standard, and their next visits will be graded on Ohio State. Did they move the needle big time with DeSean Moore? I don't know how big they moved the needle with DeSean Moore, but it certainly seems like they really, really like Ohio State, both him and his mom and the rest of the family. So that's great. Ultimately, I don't know, the rest of their visits are still to come. So tough to say too much unless, you heard something else. I didn't. I think things are going really good in DeSean Moore. I think they're in a good spot. But, ultimately, Texas here is in a better spot, and Oregon's still in a really good spot as well. LSU, I don't think, is in this, but it sounds like they were able to coax him into coming and taking a visit. So this is still, in my opinion, there's a long way to go here, and still some ground to make up. And if they can pull it off with DeSean Moore, that'd be awesome. All right, so Bo Jackson, Villa Angeles St. Joe's. Absolute stud running back. He is a top 5 running back in the country. Prototypical size, 6 foot, 205. Great balance, great speed, humble guy, really great running back. Bo has been down to Ohio State more than he's been anywhere else, obviously. Last week, he was at Georgia. This week, he was at Ohio State. Next week, he'll be at Alabama as he wraps up his officials. He does not have a commitment date set yet. Now, after this visit, Bo said, first off, he's got a great relationship with Carlos Loughlin, who recruited him at Oregon. And Bo has now talked to, I've seen quoted, Bill Kurlick, and he talked to Mick Walker, another new writer for Letterman Row, talked to both of them and said straight up, Ohio State is my leader as of now. Now, this was kind of becoming a battle between Georgia and Ohio State. He was at Georgia last week, comes out of this visit, says Ohio State's his leader. Steve Wiltfong, On3's national recruiting analyst, then comes out with a On3's version of a crystal ball, which is not called a crystal ball, but then predicts Bo Jackson to Ohio State. The fact that he has called Ohio State his leader now after Georgia, that's a wrap. It's over. Bo's done. Bo's in the class. Alabama, they're not getting him. And this was a Georgia-Ohio State deal, in my opinion. I'm confident enough to put Bo in the red bar on my official big board for my own purposes. I think this is over. Bo's in the class. You know, you're not hearing guys come out in their second of 3 visits and saying they're in the lead. He's doing that because, you know, this is home for him. He's done. Done data. Sam Williams-Dixon was his host. Kudos to Sam. Everybody did a great job with Bo. And, you know, this one just feels great. So they did it. They did it. Now, what do we got here? We got Isaiah, who has not committed yet, but I think will shortly. He'll be on his official next week. And then you got Bo. That's 2 backs in the class. Can you get Jordan Davison? If you get all 3 of these guys, what this means is Carlos Loughlin walked in halfway through this and landed 3 absolutely fantastic starting running backs in one class, which would just be so incredibly phenomenal and speak so highly to his ability as a recruiter. I mean, certainly nothing Tony Alford could have done. We'll put it that way. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right, let's go to Riley Pettijohn. So Riley Pettijohn, great linebacker out of Texas. Riley Pettijohn has 3 officials scheduled. I got to double check, but it's Texas and Ohio State. I can't remember the third, but the thought is Riley is a huge Texas lean. The Buckeyes gained some ground here, according to everything I've seen here. The Buckeyes gained a little ground. Ultimately, they still got a long way to go. It doesn't sound like Riley Pettijohn is too awfully interested in leaving the state of Texas. So I would be really surprised if he does. But they definitely gained some ground. You can't ever count the Buckeyes out. But when you're going against Texas as the hometown school and a guy really likes them right off the rip, you know they're going to match whatever they need to match to keep them in money-wise. So you're not going to be able to win that battle or win off of that battle. And that's not generally the Buckeyes' style anyway. But, you know, I still think this one is a pretty long shot. Vernell Brown, dynamic wide receiver, a guy who, when you watch his highlight film, is just running the whole time. Doesn't look like they stop to snap the ball. It's just him running. Kickoffs, he's scoring all 3 ways. He's running the ball for touchdowns. He's taking it back on special teams, and he's taking it in as a wide receiver. Dynamic athlete, super dynamic athlete. Maybe has a ways to go as to be just a straight up wide receiver, but absolute incredible athlete that Heartline really wants. He was thought to be for a while, along with at the same time, it was thought, you know, him and Jamie French were pretty much in this class. Then shortly after French kind of defected, it sounded like we were getting the same kind of movement from Riley Pettijohn or from Vernell Brown. Then things were coming out that he was very interested in staying home. going to his dad's alma mater in Florida. His grandfather also played in Florida, or Miami. So, pretty concerning there. So he comes up for his official, and it was almost as if you lived with your girl and you started dating other people and came back to pick up your stuff, and you guys locked eyes and you realized you were making a mistake. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. And I don't put a ton of stock into this guy's silent committed or that, like, especially this day and age when I never have in my life, like when we talk about the whole silent commit deal. But there is definitely something going on here with Vernell Brown and Ohio State. And I do think that Vernell Brown, I'm now confident enough to say I think he's in the class. So great news there. Whatever Heartline had going on last night, it just almost feels like something went down, and they got whatever was not going right for him to kind of feel like he was pulling away. They got it right. Now, Vernell Brown still has 4 officials left. So will it last? I think so. I think that, like I said, I think they got right. So Vernell Brown in the class, Bo Jackson in the class. Let's go to Justin Hill in the class. The best news of the day for me, because I feel like Justin Hill is the guy that is the hardest to replace. There's nobody else on the board that's like him. Now, this one is one that I'm even more confident about than the other two. They paired Justin Hill, who's kind of on the quiet side, with Jermaine Matthews as his player host, which I thought was pretty keen. Jermaine Matthews, if you're not aware of him, obviously you're aware of his abilities as a player. He's excellent, but his personality is big. He's a big personality. And pairing him with a guy like Hill, who's maybe a little on the quieter side, really cool. I like it. I think it's perfect. JTT had a big party at his house. Hill had a great time. Obviously, he had with him Eli Lee and TJ. So, you got those two. And then they also, the advantage that the Buckeyes have here over the 2 other suitors in this scenario. Now, he's got an official with USC, Oregon, and Alabama. USC is not really in this. This is about Oregon and Alabama. Oregon, according to Jeremy Birmingham, recruiting him as an inside linebacker. Silly. That's not his skill set, and he knows that that's not where the money is. He's a pass rusher. He's got a special ability to rush the passer. Now, at Ohio State, he has the benefit of playing for both James Laurinaitis and Larry Johnson, and they both made it clear to him, Larry, about how he's going to make him an excellent pass rusher. James, an excellent backer. He's going to be a versatile player, and he's got 2 legends coaching him at Ohio State. In addition, it's his hometown school. Yeah, things went really, really well. Now, again, that was his first visit. He's still going to see Oregon. He's still going to see Alabama. He's still going to see USC. But we got him. I'm pretty damn confident of that. And it's the best news of the day for me. So, all in all, tell me what you guys think. I know a lot of people put more stock into the whole verbal commit, but there was, rumors going around that Vernell Brown had I'm just stumbling on words, had silently committed. That's just not something I take with the massive, like a grain of salt that's like this big when I hear someone silently committed. The whole premise of it just is like, okay. I mean, if you really felt that way, you would just do it, right? But there obviously are some reasons why people would want to do that. But if you're not willing to put your name on it or say it with your chest, I just, how much stock can I put into it, particularly in this day and age when we're seeing more and more guys straight up verbally commit and let everybody know and still take visits. And we're seeing, probably more flips towards the end because of the money. that can come into the equation. So like a silent means like, it's a total whatever to me. So I'm not basing what I feel on this situation. It doesn't have anything to do with that. But it's a whole lot of positive arrows. You take it all the different things here and you put it all together. Vernell Brown in the class, Justin Hill in the class, Bo Jackson in the class, Isaiah West in the class, Andrew Stargell in the class. None of those guys committed, but in my mind, those guys are all now in the class. And I will be surprised if any of them do not end up signing with the Buckeyes. That's how I feel about it. And that is our show for today. Pretty soft, I know. I wasn't going to do a show today, guys. I just had to talk about this. So that's it. Juck and Bucks out.